The ringing of the phone echoed in the deafening silence, and I froze as Marcus's voice traveled through the crack in the door. "Look, I'm tired of pretending. I'm leaving Leah. I've got a younger girl now, and I'm starting over." My heart shattered into a million pieces. "So you've been lying all this time, Marcus?" I wanted to confront him right then and there, but the sound of his footsteps approaching sent me scurrying back to the kitchen. The door swung open, and Marcus strode in, phone in hand, his expression as cold as the ice in his veins. "Hey, honey," he said, leaning down to kiss my cheek. "Dinner smells great." I plastered on a fake smile, my insides churning with anguish and betrayal. "Thanks, it'll be ready in a few." As Marcus settled at the table, I couldn't help but study the man I thought I knew. How could he so easily deceive me, the woman who had devoted her life to him and our family? The memories flooded back, our first date, his romantic proposal, the day we said "I do." All lies, it seemed. The perfect life I'd envisioned crumbled before my eyes. "Everything okay?" Marcus asked, his brow furrowed. "You look pale," I swallowed hard, fighting back the tears that threatened to spill. "I'm fine," I lied, just as he had done countless times. As we ate in tense silence, my mind raced, trying to make sense of the bombshell I'd just discovered. How long had this been going on? Who was this other woman? Anger slowly replaced the heartache, fueling a determination I hadn't felt in years. I deserved better than this deceit, this mockery of a marriage. That night, as Marcus slept beside me, oblivious to the storm brewing within, I vowed to uncover the truth, no matter how painful. The life I thought I had was nothing but an illusion, and it was time to shatter it once and for all. The days following Marcus's shattering confession were a blur of shattered memories and agonizing realizations. Every tender moment we'd shared, every "I love you" uttered, it all felt like a cruel facade orchestrated by a brilliant liar. I found myself constantly revisiting our early years, searching for clues I'd missed, red flags that should have warned me of the deception to come. How could I have been so blind? Those first few dates seemed like a fairy tale come to life. Marcus swept me off my feet with his charm and attentiveness, showering me with compliments and affection. "You're the most beautiful woman I've ever laid eyes on," he'd murmur, gazing at me with those warm hazel eyes that used to make my heart flutter. When he proposed after a whirlwind courtship, I was overwhelmed by his seeming devotion. "Leah, you're my soulmate, my everything. I can't imagine spending a day without you by my side." Foolishly, I believed every saccharine word. The wedding was a magical affair, Marcus beaming with pride as he slipped the ring on my finger. "I vow to cherish and love you until death do us part," he'd sworn solemnly. Lies. All lies. Aiden's arrival should have been the happiest day of our lives, but even then cracks began to show in Marcus's facade. His late nights at the office became more frequent, his excuses increasingly flimsy. "Sorry, babe, this client's being a real pain. I'll be home as soon as I can," he'd say, already halfway out the door. At the time, I brushed it off as the demands of his high-pressure job. Now I can't help but wonder if client was code for his sordid affair. Countless memories replayed in my mind like a perverse highlight reel, each one more damning than the last. Marcus's love had been a carefully constructed mirage, and I was the fool who bought into it hook, line, and sinker. Well, no more. The blinders were off, and I saw my husband for the monster he truly was. As the anger and hurt consumed me, a singular thought took root. He would pay for this unforgivable betrayal. I would make sure of it. In the weeks that followed, Marcus's lies became more apparent with every sideways glance and half-hearted excuse. The man I'd once admired had been reduced to a sniveling coward, desperate to cover his tracks. "Working late again?" I asked one evening as he rushed toward the door, suit jacket askew. He froze, eyes widening like a kid caught with his hand in the cookie jar. "Yeah, big client presentation tomorrow. You know how it is." I leveled him with a withering stare. "Do I?" He fidgeted uncomfortably, unable to meet my gaze. "Right, well, don't wait up." And with that, he was gone, the door slamming behind him. As the night stretched on, our home felt more like a hollow shell, devoid of the warmth and laughter that had once filled its walls. Aiden sensed the tension, retreating to his room to avoid the suffocating atmosphere. "Is everything okay with you and Dad?" he ventured one evening over a dinner prepared solely by my hands. I forced a smile, not wanting to shatter his illusions just yet. Everything's fine, honey. Just some work stress, that's all. But the lie tasted bitter on my tongue. How could I perpetuate this facade when it was crumbling all around us? Marcus's behavior grew increasingly erratic, his excuses more flimsy by the day. Evenings stretched into eternities as I sat alone, imagining the sordid activities that kept him from coming home. Was he wine and dining his mistress, whispering the same sweet nothings he'd once reserved for me? The thought made me physically ill. Then came the night that obliterated any remaining doubt. I returned from the grocery store to find his car in the driveway, the lights off. Fumbling with my keys, I nudged open the door and froze at the sight of a discarded bra on the foyer floor. My heart pounded as I followed the trail of scattered clothing up the stairs and down the hallway, each piece another knife twisting in my gut. When I reached our bedroom door, it stood slightly ajar, the unmistakable sounds of hushed giggles and creaking bed springs emanating from within. I didn't need to see more. Retreating in a daze, I collapsed on the couch, visions of their entangled bodies searing into my brain. That was it, the final straw. Marcus had crossed a line, and there was no going back. My husband's deception would be exposed, and he would reap the consequences, no matter how devastating. The seeds of revenge had taken root, and I would ensure they blossomed into something brutal and unstoppable. The next morning, I marched into Mr. Turner's office, my jaw set with grim determination. He glanced up from his paperwork, eyes widening at my haggard appearance. "Leah, what's going on?" I took a steadying breath before unleashing the torrent of words that had been rattling around in my head. "It's Marcus. He's been cheating on me, carrying on an affair right under my nose." Mr. Turner's expression morphed into one of outrage. "That rotten son of a—" He caught himself, reining in his anger. "I'm so sorry, Leah. You don't deserve that." Tears pricked my eyes, but I blinked them away. Crying wouldn't solve anything. I need to know the truth, all of it. I can't keep living like this, in the dark. He nodded solemnly. "You're right. The lying and deception need to stop." Rifling through his desk drawer, he pulled out a business card. "An old buddy of mine runs a private investigation firm. Top-notch guys, very discreet." I accepted the card, my hands trembling slightly. This was it, the point of no return. "Thank you, Mr. Turner. I don't know what I'd do without your support." The warmth in his eyes was a balm on my battered soul. "You're like a daughter to me, Leah. I'll always have your back." With those words echoing in my mind, I made the call that set the wheels in motion. Detective Carter promised to handle the case with utmost discretion, vowing to uncover every sordid detail of Marcus's betrayal. Finally, I was taking control, no longer the helpless victim blindsided by lies. With each piece of evidence gathered, I regained a sliver of the power Marcus had stolen from me. The days blurred together in a haze of clandestine meetings and covert surveillance, my work becoming an all-consuming obsession. Carter's periodic updates only fueled the fire burning within me. He's been frequenting a certain apartment complex on the east side, always arriving around the same time. Financial records show he's been funneling money into a separate account you knew nothing about. With each revelation, my anger compounded, an all-consuming inferno that threatened to consume me if left unchecked. Marcus's deception had been calculated, his disregard for our vows and family chilling to the core. But I was done being a victim, done letting his cruelty dictate my life. The evidence was mounting, and soon the lies would come crashing down around him. When that moment arrived, he would finally understand the depth of his mistakes. I would make sure of it. The damning evidence in my hands left no room for doubt. Marcus's infidelity had been going on for months, maybe years. Steeling my nerves, I confronted him as he slid into the driver's seat after another late night. "I followed you today," I stated, my voice trembling with barely contained fury. "Care to explain this?" Marcus froze, his eyes widening as he took in the incriminating photos scattered across my lap, snapshots of him entering a sleek apartment complex, holding hands with a young, gorgeous woman. "Leah, I can explain," he stammered, his pallor turning ashen. "Save it," I spat. "I know everything, thanks to a private investigator. The lies, the secret bank accounts, all of it." He swallowed hard, his Adam's apple bobbing. For once, the silver-tongued snake had no glib retort, no easy excuse to slither out of this grave he'd dug. "Who is she?" I demanded, shoving the photos in his face. Some young thing from the office you've been screwing behind my back." A muscle twitched in his jaw, but he remained silent, unable or unwilling to outright admit his transgressions. White-hot rage coursed through my veins. "Fine. I'm done pretending too. This marriage is over, Marcus. I want a divorce." Those words finally snapped him from his stupor. "You can't be serious," he scoffed, a sneer curling his lip. "Over some little fling? Don't be so dramatic." I locked eyes with him, my gaze unwavering. "It's more than that, and you know it. This has been going on for God knows how long. You lied to me, to our son, made a mockery of everything we built." He opened his mouth, but I silenced him with a raised hand. "I'm not finished. From this moment on, you'll face the consequences of your despicable actions. The cheating, the secrets, the utter disrespect. It all ends here." For the first time since I'd known him, Marcus seemed at a loss for words, his bravado crumbling under the weight of his exposed deceit. Slapping the photos onto his lap, I threw open the car door. "This is what you wanted, isn't it? To be free of your boring, faithful wife? Well, congratulations, you got your wish." With that parting shot, I slammed the door and stormed back into the house, each step fueling my resolve. The ball was in my court now. Marcus's lies had reached their inevitable conclusion, and there would be no escape from the karma he'd set in motion. The air was thick tension as Marcus slunk into the living room, his eyes darting nervously between me and the unfamiliar woman perched on our couch. Aiden hovered uncertainly in the doorway, his brow furrowed in confusion. "What's going on, Mom?" I took a deep, steadying breath. As much as it pained me, Aiden deserved to know the ugly truth about the man he'd idolized his entire life. "Your father has been lying to us, sweetheart. He's been having an affair." Marcus shot me a venomous glare, but I met his anger with stony resolve. "No more secrets, no more lies." "That's ridiculous," he sputtered, rounding on the younger woman. "Emma, tell them this is just a misunderstanding." But Emma averted her gaze, worrying her lip between her teeth. The facade was crumbling. "Mom?" Aiden's voice was laced with hurt and disbelief. Is that true?" I opened my mouth to respond, but Marcus beat me to it, his voice dripping with disdain. "Of course not. Your mother's just blowing things out of proportion as usual. You know how emotional she can get." White-hot fury lanced through me at his callous dismissal. "Enough with the lies, Marcus. Our son deserves to know what kind of reprehensible person you truly are." Crossing the room in 3 strides, I shoved the incriminating photos into Aiden's hands. Indisputable proof of Marcus's indiscretions. His eyes widened in shock as he flipped through the damning images. "Dad, is this real?" For a long moment, Marcus said nothing, his face contorted in an impotent mix of shame and anger. Then, slowly, he lifted his chin in a sick parody of defiance. "Yes, it's real. I've been having an affair with Emma for the past 6 months." His gaze slid to me, cold and remorseless. "I was going to leave your mother for her, start a new life." The words hung in the air, their impact like a physical blow. Aiden recoiled, horror and revulsion etched across his features. "How could you?" he whispered, anguish lacing each syllable. "After everything Mom sacrificed for this family?" Emma finally found her voice, rising to her feet. "Marcus, I can't do this. It's too much." As she brushed past us, throwing open the front door, I almost felt a flicker of pity for the naive girl caught in Marcus's web of depravity. Almost. Once we were alone, an oppressive silence descended, broken only by the ragged sound of Aiden's breathing. Then, slowly, he turned to face his father, jaw clenched and eyes blazing with righteous fury. "I don't know you anymore," he spat, "and I never want to see you again after this." Without another word, he stalked from the room, leaving Marcus and I alone to contend with the smoldering wreckage of our life together. As I studied the pathetic specter of the man I'd once loved, a profound sense of clarity washed over me. This was it. The true depths of Marcus's selfish cruelty laid bare. And in that moment, I vowed to make him pay for every ounce of pain and suffering he'd inflicted on our family, no matter what it took. The divorce proceedings were a whirlwind of paperwork and emotionally charged meetings, but I remained steadfastly focused on one goal, making Marcus pay for his despicable betrayal. My lawyer, a no-nonsense pit bull named Jessica, left no stone unturned in building an airtight case against him. "We have more than enough evidence of infidelity and emotional neglect," she stated matter-of-factly during one meeting. Not to mention his blatant financial deception with those hidden accounts. I nodded grimly. Good. I want to bleed him dry for what he's put Aiden and me through. A ghost of a smile played across Jessica's lips. Don't worry, Leah. We're going for the jugular on this one. True to her word, she mercilessly documented every transgression, every lie and illicit dalliance undertaken by my soon-to-be ex-husband. The sharper the knife, the deeper it would cut him. When the day arrived for us to face each other in court, I could barely look at Marcus without feeling an overwhelming surge of revulsion and hatred. His once handsome features had taken on a haunted look, eyes sunken and skin sallow from months of debauchery. Are you happy now? He snarled as we waited for the proceedings to begin. You've successfully torn our family apart with all this pettiness. I met his gaze head-on, my voice cold and clinical. I'm not the one who destroyed this family, Marcus. That was all you with your selfish actions. Before he could respond, the judge called the court to order. What followed was a brutal dissection of every lurid detail in our failed marriage. The nights Marcus spent carousing with his mistress, the thousands funneled into hidden accounts, the countless lies and disregard for his duties as a husband and father. I could practically feel Marcus withering under the relentless assault, his shoulders slumping lower with each new revelation. By the time Jessica rested her case, there was no denying the severity of Marcus's transgressions. He had irrevocably violated the sacred vows of our union. As the judge rendered his decision, I couldn't help but feel a savage sense of vindication wash over me. In light of the overwhelming evidence, I am awarding Mrs. Adkins full custody of the minor child, in addition to a sizable monetary settlement from Mr. Adkins's liquid assets and income. Jessica squeezed my hand in silent triumph, but I felt no joy, only a grim satisfaction. Outside the courthouse, Marcus rounded on me, his face twisted in impotent rage. I hope you're happy, you vindictive shrew. This isn't over, not by a long shot. Meeting his glare with icy disdain, I allowed myself a tight smile. Oh, but it is over, Marcus. You wanted out of this marriage so badly? Well, consider yourself free and clear. Just know that it cost you everything. Your family, your dignity, your future earnings. All because you couldn't keep it in your pants. With that parting shot, I turned and strode away, leaving him to contend with the smoldering ruins of the life he'd so callously discarded. The road ahead would be difficult, fraught with fresh challenges. But for the first time in months, I felt a weight lifting from my shoulders. Marcus had gotten his just desserts, and I was finally free to start anew. The soft morning light filtering through the curtains cast everything in a warm, dreamlike glow, a stark contrast to the nightmare I'd endured for so long. As I sipped my coffee and surveyed our cozy new home, it finally started to sink in. This fresh start was real. I was free. The sound of shuffling footsteps drew my gaze to the hallway, where Aiden emerged, rubbing the sleep from his eyes. My son, my unwavering pillar of strength through the darkest of times. "Morning, honey," I greeted, unable to keep the smile from my face. He returned the grin, sliding into the chair across from me. "Looks like someone's in a good mood today. Can you blame me?" I reached across the table, giving his hand a gentle squeeze. "We did it, Aiden. We made it through the worst and came out stronger on the other side." His expression sobered, eyes clouding with a solemn understanding far beyond his 17 years. "I know, Mom. And I'm sorry you had to go through all that pain because of Dad's mistakes." There was that protective instinct again, always trying to shield me, even when I was the one who should have been sheltering him. "Hey, none of that was your fault, okay? I don't want you carrying around any guilt or anger towards your father." The words felt paradoxical given the depth of my own fury, but I meant every one. To my surprise, Aiden let out a rueful chuckle. Easier said than done. After everything he did, everything he put us through? He shook his head slowly. "I don't know if I can ever look at him the same way again. He's not the man I thought he was." There was no denying the truth in his words. Marcus's despicable actions had irrevocably shattered the image of the devoted husband and father he'd crafted over the years. Even if he someday realized the gravity of his sins and sought redemption, that relationship could never be fully mended. Some deceptions were too catastrophic to simply forgive and forget. "You're right, it won't be easy," I conceded. "But we're survivors, you and me. We'll get through this the same way we got through the divorce, by supporting each other and staying strong. Aiden's lips curved into a wistful smile. Yeah, you've always had my back, no matter what. I don't know what I'd do without you, Mom. As those words washed over me, I felt an overwhelming surge of love and pride for the incredible young man my son had become, even in the face of such ugly turmoil. We were fighters, battle-tested and resilient. No matter what life threw our way, we would rise above the ashes, phoenix-like, and soar towards a brighter future. While Marcus withered under the weight of his selfish choices, condemned to a life of bitterness and regret, Aiden and I would forge onwards, leaving the specter of his betrayal far behind us. Justice, though harsh, had been served, and I wouldn't have had it any other way.